A poor young woman enters a billionaire's mansion just to earn a living, but destiny turns her humility into a crown. She faces mockery, rejection, and gossip, yet her dignity and honesty win the heart of the very man she served. This is the story of Nkechi, the poor but beautiful lady who became the queen of the mansion after several humiliating experiences. Let's take the journey together in the interesting story. The voices echoed across the mansion's glittering hall. Why is she here? A maid, serving us like she belongs in our circle. One of the billionaire's friends scoffed, his laughter cruel and loud. Nkechi stood frozen, the silver tray trembling in her hands. Her eyes burned, but she forced herself not to cry. The mockery pierced deeper than knives, yet she bowed her head and whispered, "Here is your drink, sir." The glasses clinked. The laughter grew. To them, she was just a poor village girl who didn't deserve to breathe the same air as billionaires. Across the room, BuT, the billionaire himself, watched silently. His jaw tightened. Something twisted in his chest as he saw the girl's shoulders shake. She wasn't just a maid. She wasn't just a plate washer. There was something in her quiet dignity that made him uncomfortable and strangely protective. When the laughter died down, he noticed her slip away quietly into the kitchen. No tears fell in their presence, but alone, her hands gripped the sink as if to stop herself from collapsing. And in that moment, BuT's heart shifted. Now, we rewind the story to show how this moment came to be, building suspense for the viewers. Just 2 weeks earlier, Nkechi had stood at the very gates of that mansion, clutching her small nylon bag, her heart pounding. She wasn't seeking luxury, or favor, or love. She was simply looking for a job, any job. Her words to the guards had been simple. "Please, I can wash plates. I just need something small to survive." Little did she know, the plates she came to wash would soon become the plates on which destiny would serve her love. The laughter was cruel. It bounced off the marble walls of the billionaire's mansion and struck Nkechi's heart like arrows. "Look at her hands shaking," one of the men sneered, swirling his wine glass. "A village girl doesn't belong here. Who let her in? She came to wash plates, not to serve kings," another added, his voice dripping with disdain. Nkechi stood in the middle of the hall, her silver tray trembling under the weight of crystal glasses. Her eyes stung, but she swallowed her tears. She had promised herself never to cry in front of those who mocked her. She bowed her head and whispered, "Here is your drink, sir," her voice barely audible. The men laughed harder, as if her humility entertained them. Across the room, BuT, the owner of the mansion and Nigeria's youngest billionaire, watched silently. His tall frame leaned against a pillar, his eyes narrowing as he observed the scene. Something twisted in his chest. He had seen people ridiculed before. The rich often mock the poor, but tonight it felt different. This girl's pain stabbed at him in a way he couldn't explain. When the laughter died down, Nkechi quietly slipped into the kitchen. She placed the empty tray on the counter and gripped the edge of the sink with both hands, her shoulders shaking. Still, no tears fell. She had learned long ago that tears were a luxury she couldn't afford. But BuT saw her. From the doorway, he noticed how her knuckles turned white from gripping the sink, how she bit her lip until it bled just to hold back her sobs. And something inside him shifted. 2 weeks earlier, the gates of the mansion were towering, intimidating, and polished to perfection. Nkechi stood before them, her nylon bag clutched tightly in her hands. The dress she wore was faded and patched at the hem, but it was the only one she owned that looked decent enough to wear to the city. A guard approached, his eyes scanning her from head to toe. "What do you want here?" His tone was sharp, dismissive. Nkechi swallowed hard. "Please, I am looking for work. Any work. I can wash plates." The guard burst into laughter, waving his colleague over. "Did you hear that? She wants to wash plates in this place. Look at her, like one who hasn't eaten since last week." The second guard sneered. "Go back to your village, girl. We don't hire street beggars here." Her chest tightened, but she refused to turn away. "Please, just tell the master. I only want to work. I will not cause trouble." As if summoned by her words, a sleek black car pulled up. BuT stepped out, dressed in a crisp navy suit. His aura commanded silence. Even the guards straightened immediately. "What's happening here?" he asked, his voice deep. The first guard bowed slightly. "Sir, this girl says she wants to wash plates here. We were just sending her away." BuT's eyes shifted to Nkechi. She avoided his gaze, staring at the ground. Something about her humility caught his attention. He raised a brow. "What's your name?" She hesitated before whispering. "Nkechi, sir. And you came all the way here to wash plates?" "Yes, sir," she murmured. I am not educated enough for office work, but I can clean, cook, and wash. I just want to earn something small to feed my mother. Her honesty pierced him. For a moment, he studied her, the way her hands trembled, yet her voice held steady. He turned to the guards. Let her in. Both men looked stunned. Sir, I said let her in. And just like that, Nkechi's life took a turn she never expected. The first days. Inside the mansion, everything was overwhelming. The chandeliers, the polished floors, the art worth millions. Nkechi felt like a stranger in a palace. She was shown to the kitchen, where she was told to focus only on washing plates and cleaning. She worked quietly, singing hymns under her breath as she scrubbed. Her small hands moved with care, never rushing, always making sure each plate shone. One afternoon, as she dried a glass plate, Chabik entered silently. He leaned on the doorway, watching. You sing while you work? He asked suddenly. She gasped, almost dropping the plate. Turning quickly, she bowed. Sir, forgive me. I did not mean to disturb. He chuckled softly. No, I wasn't complaining. What song was that? She shifted nervously. An old hymn, sir. My mother used to sing it when she cooked. There was something soothing in her voice, something pure. For reasons he couldn't explain, Chabik found himself lingering. You work with such care. Most of the staff rush through their tasks. Nkechi bowed again. It is the only way I know, sir. My mother says, even if it is a plate, do it as though you are serving a king. Her words hit him harder than she realized. The test of character. But not everyone in the mansion welcomed her. During one of Chabik's evening gatherings, his wealthy friends noticed her serving drinks. Their laughter was cruel, echoing through the hall. Who let this village girl serve us? One mocked. She should be in the servants' quarters, not in our presence, another sneered. Nkechi bowed, her eyes glistening but steady. Here is your drink, sir, she said quietly. Later that night, in the solitude of the kitchen, she finally let her tears fall. That was the moment Chabik saw her differently. Not as just a worker, not as just a maid, but as a soul carrying a dignity the world was blind to. And from that night on, nothing between them would remain the same. The banquet finally ended past midnight. The music had faded, the laughter of the wealthy had been carried off in the night breeze, and the mansion, so loud a few hours earlier, now breathed in silence. In the massive kitchen, plates stacked like towers of glass, and pots the size of small bathtubs lined the counters. Most of the workers dragged their tired feet, yawning, eager to finish so they could leave. But not Nkechi. She scrubbed with quiet determination, her bandaged finger stinging each time the soap water touched it. She ignored the pain. She had no choice. Every plate she washed was another step away from poverty, another drop of hope for her sick mother back in the village. Still, she couldn't stop her thoughts from replaying the scene in the banquet hall. His voice. His eyes. The way he wrapped her finger. Why me? She wondered. Why would a man like that notice someone like me? But her thoughts were quickly interrupted. See her face. She's already dreaming nonsense, Amara sneered, slamming a stack of dirty dishes on the counter beside her. Do you think Ogre will marry you because he touched your hand? Wake up from your poverty dream, I beg. The other girls giggled, their laughter slicing Nkechi's chest. I didn't say anything, she murmured, scrubbing harder. Amara leaned closer, her eyes sharp. You don't need to say it. I can see it in your eyes. You think you're special. Let me warn you, small girl. Men like him don't marry girls like us. They use us, then throw us away. The words stung because they were half true. Nkechi had heard such stories. She had seen young girls in her neighborhood return broken, abandoned by rich men who promised heaven but delivered heartbreak. But something inside her whispered that Chabik wasn't like that. Still, she stayed quiet. Arguing with Amara would only make things worse. Meanwhile, in the study upstairs, Chabik hadn't gone to bed either. The house was quiet, but his mind was not. He sat behind his mahogany desk, staring at the flickering city lights through the tall glass windows. The image of the young girl on her knees, bleeding, yet still apologizing, replayed in his mind. There was dignity in her eyes, even in her shame. Strength in her silence. He had seen hundreds of workers come and go, but none had stirred him like this. His friend Kunnel, lounging on the sofa, broke his thoughts. Guy, you've been quiet since that small drama downstairs. Don't tell me it's because of that kitchen girl. Chabik didn't respond immediately. He hated how transparent he had become. Kunnel smirked. It's written all over your face. A billionaire, falling for a plate washer? Omo, no movie scripto. Chabik shot him a glare. I didn't say anything about love. But did you see how they treated her? Like trash. I I can't stand injustice in my own house. Justice? Kunal laughed. My brother, you're lonely. Admit it. You saw something in her. That girl shook you. Chabik's silence was all the answer Kunal needed. Back in the kitchen, dawn was breaking by the time the last plate was washed. Nkechi was exhausted. Her arms ached, her feet screamed, but she kept moving. When the supervisor finally dismissed them, most of the workers rushed out. But Nkechi lingered behind, too tired to walk. She sat on a small stool, wiping her wet hands on her faded dress. The kitchen door creaked open. She looked up and froze. It was him. Chabik stepped in, still dressed in his white shirt, though the top buttons were undone now. He looked less like a billionaire, and more like a man carrying invisible weight. Why are you still here? His voice was calm but firm. She scrambled to her feet, embarrassed. I was just leaving, sir. His eyes fell on her finger, the bandage now soaked. Does it hurt? She shook her head quickly. No, sir. I'm fine. But her eyes betrayed her. He took a step closer, lowering his voice. Why didn't you speak up when they pushed the blame on you? Everyone saw it wasn't your fault. She hesitated, clutching her bag tighter. Because poor people don't get believed, sir. If I argued, they would say I was disrespectful. If I kept quiet, at least I could keep my job. Her honesty pierced him. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The early rays of the sun streamed through the window, painting her tired face in gold. And for the first time in years, Chabik felt something in his chest that no wealth, no deal, no luxury had ever given him. Respect, admiration, and something dangerously close to love. You're not like the others, he said softly. Her heart raced. She looked down quickly, afraid of what his words meant. I'm just here to work, sir. He smiled faintly. Maybe. But sometimes, even in work, destiny hides. Before she could respond, footsteps echoed in the hall. The supervisor entered, startled to see them together. Oh, sir, you're here. She glanced at Nkechi, suspicion in her eyes. This one should be leaving now. She's done for the night. Chabik's gaze lingered a second longer on Nkechi before he turned to leave. But his words echoed in her ears long after he was gone. Sometimes, even in work, destiny hides. Outside, as she walked down the empty street back to her small one-room apartment, Nkechi whispered to herself, God, what am I stepping into? Because deep inside, she knew her life had just begun to change. And in the mansion, Chabik stood at his window, watching the faint outline of her figure disappear into the morning mist. His chest tightened with a feeling he hadn't known in years. Hope. The sun was already high when Nkechi woke up. Her body ached from the previous night's work, but she forced herself to rise from the thin mat on the floor. The one-room apartment she shared with her younger brother was cramped, with peeling walls and a leaking ceiling, but it was all they could afford. As she washed her face from a bucket of cold water, her brother, Chinedu, looked up from the corner where he was mending his school shoes with thread. How was the job? He asked, eyes filled with the kind of hope only children carried. Nkechi hesitated. It was fine. Hard work, but fine. Chinedu tilted his head, studying her face. But you're smiling. Did something good happen? Her hand froze. She hadn't even realized she was smiling. Quickly, she forced the expression away. Nothing, Chinedu. Just work. Now hurry, or you'll be late for school. But deep inside, she knew why the smile had escaped. She couldn't stop thinking about him. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, the household was buzzing. The banquet had been a success, and most of the guests had already left glowing reviews about the food and hospitality. But the workers whispered about something else. Word had spread like wildfire, about how the billionaire himself had defended a plate washer. By the time Nkechi returned for her next shift, the atmosphere was tense. Conversations stopped when she entered the kitchen. Eyes followed her like arrows. There she is, one maid muttered under her breath. See the way she's walking, another whispered. As if she's already the madam of the house. Nkechi lowered her head, pretending not to hear. She went straight to the sink, immersing herself in the endless work of washing. But the whispers stung more than the soap in her cuts. And then Amara struck again. You think you're smart, eh? Amara leaned against the counter, her voice dripping with mockery. You think Ogre noticed you because you're special? Let me tell you the truth. Men like him notice girls like you only when they're bored. Don't deceive yourself. Nkechi's hands shook, but she stayed silent. Cat got your tongue? Amara pressed. Don't worry, when he gets tired of you, I'll be here to remind you who you really are. This time, Nkechi turned, her eyes steady. I didn't come here to impress anyone. I came to work. If that's a crime, then let God judge me. The kitchen fell silent. For the first time, Amara had no immediate comeback. But the fire in her eyes promised that the battle wasn't over. That evening, Chibik returned from a long meeting. His car tires crunched against the gravel as the mansion gates opened. The workers lined up as usual, bowing slightly as he passed. But his eyes, almost instinctively, sought her out. There she was, half hidden behind a stack of trays, her hands busy but her face glowing with sweat and determination. Without thinking, he slowed his steps. "Good evening, sir," the staff chorused. He nodded absently, but his gaze lingered on her for a fraction too long. And that was enough to spark another wave of gossip. Inside the mansion, Kunal was waiting for him. "Chibik, you're playing with fire," he warned the moment they were alone. Chibik frowned. "What do you mean?" "You know exactly what I mean. The workers are talking. Even the guests noticed. You're looking at that girl too much." Chibik leaned back in his chair, sighing. "Kunal, for once, stop talking like a businessman. Have you actually looked at her? She's not like the others. She has dignity." Kunal laughed bitterly. "Dignity? Or desperation? Don't confuse pity with love, my friend. Remember your family name. Remember your position. Falling for a girl who washes plates? The city will laugh you to shame." The words struck like arrows, because deep down, Chibik knew Kunal wasn't entirely wrong. Society was cruel. His family, even crueler. But his heart was already rebelling against logic. Days turned into weeks, and the invisible bond between Chibik and Nkechi grew stronger. It wasn't in words, they barely spoke. It was in glances. In the way he slowed down when she passed. In the way her hands trembled whenever he entered the room. But the closer they drew, the sharper the knives of jealousy became. One evening, as Nkechi scrubbed pots in the kitchen, two maids cornered her. "So," one sneered, "what's it like to have a billionaire wrap your finger?" The other added with a cruel laugh, "Do you think he'll buy you a mansion too? Or maybe a car?" Nkechi bit her lip, refusing to cry. But before they could mock her further, the door opened, and Chibik himself walked in. The maids scrambled back, pretending to tidy up. Nkechi froze, her heart pounding. Chibik's eyes swept over the room, then landed on her. For a moment, the world stopped. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Are they troubling you?" She shook her head quickly. "No, sir. I'm fine." But the redness around her eyes betrayed her. He looked at the other maids, his jaw tightening. "Good. Because if I ever find anyone here mistreating another worker, they won't just lose their job. They'll answer to me." The maids bowed their heads, trembling. Then, softer now, he turned back to Nkechi. "Take care of that hand. Don't overwork yourself." And just like that, he was gone. But the message lingered like perfume in the air. That night, as Nkechi walked home under the moonlight, her heart battled itself. He's kind, but he's a billionaire. I'm nobody. This can't lead anywhere. And yet, when she lay on her mat, staring at the cracked ceiling, she whispered to herself words she had never dared to before. What if he truly sees me? Meanwhile, in his luxurious bedroom, Chibik lay awake as well, staring at the ceiling of his mansion. For the first time in years, the thought of business deals didn't excite him. The only face he saw was hers, the girl who came to wash plates. And though he didn't yet know it, his heart had already chosen. The whispers had grown louder. Every worker in the mansion now carried the story like fire on dry grass. The billionaire was watching the plate washer. But the storm wasn't just inside the mansion. It reached outside, to the ears of Chibik's family. One Saturday morning, the mansion's silence was broken by the arrival of a convoy. Black SUVs rolled into the compound, and the air tightened with authority. Nkechi, busy polishing silver trays in the kitchen, paused when she heard the horns. Her chest tightened. Something told her this wasn't ordinary. Within minutes, the main doors opened, and Madame Ifeoma, Chibik's mother, walked in. Tall, elegant, wrapped in expensive lace, her presence commanded the room. Diamonds sparkled on her fingers, and her perfume lingered like power. Behind her followed two of Chibik's older sisters, Adiz and Kem, their eyes scanning everything with the cold sharpness of hawks. "Where is my son?" Madame Ifeoma demanded, handing her bag to a trembling maid. "In his study, ma," the butler answered quickly. Without another word, she marched upstairs, her daughters trailing behind. In the kitchen, the workers buzzed like bees. "Chai, Madame Don come." She heard, I swear. She must have heard about the plate girl. Nkechi's hands shook so badly, she almost dropped the tray. Amara smirked from the corner, her eyes glinting with malice. "This is the end," she whispered loudly enough for Nkechi to hear. Rich men's mothers don't play. Watch how she sweeps you out like trash. Nkechi's stomach knotted. She wanted to run, but her feet refused to move. Upstairs, Madame Ifioma barged into the study without knocking. Chibik looked up, startled. Mother, you didn't tell me you were coming. Her eyes flashed. Should I announce myself before visiting my own son? Or has that girl already turned your head so far that you've forgotten who you are? His jaw tightened. What girl? Don't play with me, Chibik. She slammed her palm on the desk. A common plate washer? In my house. People are talking. Guests are whispering. Even your uncle called me last night. Do you want to drag this family's name into the mud? Adiz folded her arms. Brother, it's embarrassing. Imagine. Our friends are asking if it's true you're protecting a maid. Nkem added coldly. We all know how this ends. She'll ruin you. She'll take your money and disappear. Isn't that what they all do? Chibik rose slowly, his calmness more dangerous than anger. Enough. None of you know her. You've judged her without speaking to her once. She's not like the others. His mother scoffed. Of course she isn't, according to you. That's how all men fall. They believe their weakness is special. But listen to me, Chibik. You will not shame us. If you want a wife, we will find you one. A daughter of pedigree. Not a girl who scrubs plates for survival. His voice hardened. And what if I want her? The room froze. Adiz gasped. You can't be serious. Madame Ifioma's eyes blazed like fire. Then you are no son of mine. She turned sharply, her wrapper swirling as she stormed out, her daughters hissing behind her. Chibik stood there, fists clenched, his chest burning. For the first time in his life, his family name felt like a prison. Downstairs, Nkechi's worst fear came true. Madame Ifioma entered the kitchen, her eyes sweeping the workers like a queen inspecting servants. When her gaze landed on Nkechi, it hardened. So it's you, she said, her voice icy. Nkechi dropped to her knees instantly. Good morning, Ma. Stand up, the older woman snapped. Don't kneel before me, kneel before God. Tell me, how much do you want? I'll write you a check now. Take it, disappear, and never set foot in this house again. Tears filled Nkechi's eyes. Ma, I didn't come here for money. I only came to work. Work? Madame Ifioma laughed bitterly. Do you take me for a fool? Girls like you never come just to work. You smell wealth, and suddenly you're saints. Leave this place before you poison my son's destiny. The kitchen was silent. Every worker watched, some with pity, others with satisfaction. Nkechi's voice broke. I swear before God, I never planned anything. I only wanted to wash plates. That's all. But Madame Ifioma had already turned her back. Pack your things. Today is your last day. That evening, Chibik found her outside by the servants' quarters, her small bag clutched in her hands, tears streaking her face. Nkechi. His voice was heavy with anger and sorrow. What happened? She wiped her eyes quickly. Your mother asked me to leave. I think it's better this way. No, he stepped closer, his hand almost reaching hers. This isn't right. You've done nothing wrong. I won't let them push you out. She shook her head, her heart breaking. Sir, you don't understand. I'm not like you. I don't have a name, or money, or power. I only have my dignity. And if staying here will destroy it, then I'd rather leave. Her words struck deeper than any blade. For a long moment, they just stood there, staring at each other. Two souls separated by class, yet bound by something neither of them could deny. Finally, he whispered, This isn't the end, Nkechi. I swear to you, it isn't the end. And as she walked out through the mansion gates, her silhouette fading into the dusk, Chibik made a silent vow. If destiny had truly hidden in a plate washer, then no force, not even his family name, would take her away from him. The wedding was a grand affair. Golden chandeliers hung like stars in the hall, and the air smelled of roses and wealth. Guests clinked glasses, their laughter bouncing off marble walls. Nkechi, draped in a gown so radiant it seemed sewn from moonlight, walked hand in hand with Chibik. The whispers had not stopped, but tonight they dared to walk boldly in the face of gossip. Look at her, someone whispered from the corner. A plate washer in a billionaire's arms? Unthinkable. But Chibik only tightened his grip. Ignore them, he whispered. Tonight is ours. Nkechi smiled bravely, but deep inside, her heart was uneasy. She could not shake the shadows of envy that had followed her from the moment she stepped into the mansion. They returned to the mansion late at night. As she entered what was now their bedroom, Nkechi paused. For the first time, she belonged. No more hiding in the kitchen, no more sneaking out through the servant's door. This was her home now. Do you believe it? She whispered. Chibik drew her close. Believe what? That someone like me from the street could end up here? He cupped her face gently. You're not here because of luck, Nkechi. You're here because you were real when everyone else was fake. And that's worth more than gold. She melted into his arms, thinking the storm was finally over. But storms, sometimes, only pause before returning with greater force. The whispers grew stronger after the wedding. Some of Chabik's business partners scoffed at him, warning that he was lowering himself. Even some family members refused to attend the wedding, claiming they could not associate with a commoner. But the sharpest dagger came from the people she once called her own, the mansion staff. She thinks she's madam now, one of the cooks muttered. From washing plates to sitting at the high table, another sneered. If she thinks we'll bow to her, she's dreaming. Nkechi overheard these words one afternoon as she passed the servants' quarters. She stood frozen, her chest tightening. That night, she confided in Chabik. They hate me. I hear them every day. I feel like I'm suffocating in my own house. Chabik frowned. Then I'll dismiss them. All of them. I can hire new staff who will respect you. No, she said quickly, gripping his hand. If you dismiss them, they'll say I'm power drunk. They'll say I came here to destroy. He sighed. Then what do you want me to do? Just stand by me. That's all I ask. It was during a family gathering that the Rayol wound was dealt. Chabik's cousin, Adora, rose to make a toast. Her smile was sharp, her voice dripping with venom hidden beneath elegance. To our dear Chabik, she began. And to his bride, who taught us all that destiny does not discriminate. Polite laughter filled the room, but there was something cruel in her tone. She continued. Who would have thought the same hands that scrubbed our plates last year would now wear diamond rings? The hall fell into a tense silence. Nkechi felt the blood drain from her face. Adora, that's enough, Chabik said sharply. But the damage was done. Guests exchanged glances. Some smirked, others pitied her. Nkechi excused herself and ran out of the hall, tears streaming down her face. A conversation in the garden. She sat alone in the garden, her gown pooling around her like spilled light. The roses swayed as though they too bowed under invisible weight. Chabik found her there, kneeling beside her. Nkechi. She looked away. Do you see? I'll never be enough for them. To them, I'll always be a plate washer who doesn't belong here. He took her chin gently, forcing her to meet his eyes. Listen to me. You are enough. You've always been enough. I didn't marry them. I married you. But their words, they cut deeper than knives. Then let me be your shield. His voice cracked with sincerity. I can't stop their tongues, but I can promise you this. I'll never let their lies poison my love for you. Her tears fell freely now, and she whispered. Just don't leave me, Chabik. Promise me you'll never leave. I swear it, Nkechi. Until my last breath, I'll stand with you. The morning after. The next morning, she awoke to find a note by her bedside, written in his bold hand. They may whisper, but we will roar. They may mock, but we will stand. You are my wife, my pride, my forever. She pressed the note to her chest, a small smile breaking through her pain. The battle wasn't over, but she wasn't fighting alone. Little did they know, the storm had only begun to gather. Envy is a fire that doesn't die easily. And in the days to come, Nkechi would face tests that would shake her faith, her dignity, and even her marriage. But one truth would remain. Love is not proven in comfort. It is proven in fire. The mansion had grown quiet, but not peaceful. Behind the polished marble walls, whispers slithered like snakes. The staff no longer hid their resentment, and the relatives who had mocked Nkechi now began plotting openly. Envy, when ignored, becomes bold. And bold envy always seeks destruction. It started with small things. A necklace misplaced. A meal spiced with too much salt. Rumors in the market that Nkechi had bewitched Chabik. Then one evening, Adora, the cousin who had humiliated her at the wedding, came to the mansion. She walked in with a smug smile, carrying a glass of wine like it was her crown. My dear cousin, she said sweetly, though her eyes were cold, I came to see how your experiment in love is going. Chabik's jaw tightened. Adora, if you came here to insult my wife again, you can leave. Adora laughed softly. Insult? No. I came to warn. Nkechi doesn't belong here. She'll never survive this world. And when she breaks, she'll break you too. Nkechi, standing quietly in the corner, clenched her fists. For weeks she had swallowed the insults. Tonight, her voice shook but did not break. You don't know me, Adora. You see only where I came from, not what I carry inside. Adora smirked. Oh, I know you, plate washer. And I promise you, this mansion will spit you out the way it spit out others before you. Chabik stepped forward. Get out, Adora. His voice thundered, leaving no room for negotiation. But as she left, Adora whispered just loud enough for Nkechi to hear, "Enjoy your throne while it lasts." 2 weeks later, the sabotage began. First, Chabik's business suffered a sudden scandal. Fake documents appeared, signed with his name, suggesting fraud. The media pounced, painting him as corrupt. Investors pulled back. Who would do this? Chabik muttered one night, pacing in frustration. Nkechi watched him, her own heart breaking. Someone close. Someone who wants to see you fall. He looked at her, suspicion flickering in his eyes. Not towards her, but towards the people around them. "Adora," he whispered. But before they could confront her, another blow landed. At a charity event, a witness appeared, claiming Nkechi once stole jewelry while working in another home. Cameras flashed, journalists swarmed. "She's a thief," someone shouted. "She bewitched him," another cried. Nkechi stood frozen, shame burning her skin. She wanted to scream the truth, but the noise drowned her voice. That night, she sat at the edge of their bed, her hands trembling. "Chabik," she whispered, "maybe they're right. Maybe I don't belong here. Maybe I should leave." He knelt in front of her, lifting her chin. "Don't you ever say that again. I don't care what they call you. I know who you are. You are mine. And I will fight for you. But they'll ruin you because of me. Let them try." His eyes blazed with fire. "Love is not for cowards, Nkechi. If I lose everything but still have you, then I've lost nothing." Her tears spilled freely. "Then promise me. Promise me you won't let go, even if the world turns against us." "I promise," he said, pressing his forehead against hers. But the storm grew darker. One evening, the mansion caught fire. The kitchen was engulfed in flames, spreading faster than anyone could react. Panic erupted. "Madam! Madam! Run!" one of the guards shouted. Nkechi's first thought was not of herself, but of the little boy, Tiga, the gardener's son who sometimes played in the servants' quarters. She ran into the smoke, ignoring the screams behind her. "Nkechi!" Chabik roared, trying to follow, but the flames held him back. Inside, coughing and blinded by smoke, she found Tiga huddled under a table. She scooped him into her arms and staggered toward the exit. Just as the flames roared above her, strong arms pulled her out, Chabik, his face covered in soot. Together, they collapsed outside, clutching Tiga. "She saved my boy," the gardener cried, tears streaming down his face. The crowd watched in silence. For the first time, their whispers shifted. The plate washer was no longer just a stranger. She was a woman of courage. The fire was ruled as sabotage. Someone had tampered with the gas system in the kitchen. And though no one could prove it, Chabik and Nkechi both knew who was behind it. That night, as they sat in the garden, Nkechi whispered, "How much longer can we survive this? How many more storms can we endure?" Chabik wrapped an arm around her. "As long as it takes. Until envy burns itself out. Until love is the only fire left." She looked into his eyes, weary yet hopeful. "And if envy never dies? Then we'll outlive it. Together." The storm of envy had tested them with lies, scandals, and fire itself. But instead of breaking, their bond had only grown stronger. Still, the journey wasn't finished. For beyond the ashes of betrayal lay the true test of love. Whether it could not only survive storms, but also bring healing to every wound. The mansion was no longer filled with whispers, but with laughter. Months had passed since the fire, months that tested not just wealth or reputation, but love itself. And those scars remained, rumors that never fully died, eyes that still watched with suspicion. Something greater had been born. Peace. Nkechi sat in the garden, the same garden where she once cried under the weight of humiliation. Now, the roses swayed gently, as if bowing in honor of her resilience. She wore no crown, no extravagant jewels, only a simple white dress that made her glow like morning light. Chabik joined her, setting 2 cups of tea on the table. He sat beside her, his hand finding hers as naturally as breathing. "Do you remember," he asked softly, "the very first day you walked through that gate?" Nkechi chuckled, her eyes misting with memory. "How could I forget? I was shaking, afraid the guards would chase me away. I only wanted to wash plates so I could eat. And now look at you," Chabik said, pride shining in his eyes. "My wife. My partner. The woman who walked through fire with me." Her smile trembled, and tears slid down her cheeks. "Sometimes I still ask myself, why me? Out of all the women, why did you choose me?" He leaned closer, brushing the tears with his thumb. "Because you had something no one else had. A heart that could not be bought. In a world full of pretenders, you were real. And love, Rayol love, is the greatest treasure. Together they sipped their tea, silence speaking louder than words. Then Nkechi set her cup down and whispered the truth she had carried deep within her soul. The plate I came to wash was the plate love was served on. Her voice broke, but it was not from sorrow. It was from gratitude. For the journey had taught them. Love doesn't look at status, wealth, or titles. It sees the soul, the heart, the truth hidden behind trembling hands and weary eyes. In the weeks that followed, something miraculous happened. The same people who had mocked her now began to tell her story with awe. Market women whispered to their daughters, "Work hard, stay humble. Look at Nkechi, see how God lifted her." Even the staff, once cold and bitter, now respected her deeply. Some approached her quietly with apologies. "We misjudged you, madam. Forgive us." And Nkechi, with the same humility that carried her through storms, forgave them all. One afternoon, Adora appeared again. But this time her face was not smug. It was weary, even broken. "I came to say I was wrong," she admitted, her voice shaking. "You were stronger than I thought. I was blinded by envy." Nkechi smiled gently. "Envy is heavy, Adora. Put it down before it destroys you." For the first time, Adora bowed her head. And in that moment, love did what wealth, power, and pride never could. It healed. That night, as they lay side by side, Chibik whispered into the quiet, "We survived, Nkechi. Against all odds, we survived." She nestled closer to him. "Not just survived, Chibik. We triumphed. Because love always wins in the end." And with that, the storms were silenced. The whispers faded. All that remained was a love story so powerful. It was carried from house to house, city to city, heart to heart. A reminder that even the lowest beginning can rise to the highest throne. And now, dear listener, let this story remind you. Never despise small beginnings. Never mock the humble. Because the person you look down on today may be the very one whose love changes your tomorrow. The plate she came to wash became the plate love was served on. And so can yours, if you never give up on hope. Strong call to action. Did this story touch your heart? Then don't just keep it to yourself. Share it with someone. Tap like to show us love. And subscribe right now, so you never miss the next powerful story.